Welcome to the Holistic Health Bites podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Nicholson, crime scene investigator turned functional health investigator. This podcast is here to share bite-sized episodes and unique interviews on a wide variety of health topics to empower, enlighten, and educate you to live your best, most vibrant life. Disclaimer: all information you hear on this podcast is for information only and constitutes individual opinions of the person speaking. This should not be taken as medical advice. Being a listener of this show does not initiate a practitioner-client relationship between you and the hosts or panelists on this show. Please discuss these topics with your medical professionals before making any changes to your health. Okay, let's dive in. We have talked a lot on this podcast about different nutritional strategies that relate to what to eat. It's not a secret that I'm a big fan of various strategies that control for carbohydrates, including ketogenic, ketovore, carnivore plans, as well as many other low-carb approaches. But when it comes to healthy eating, there are actually 3 different levers that we can pull: what to eat, when to eat, and how much to eat. Within the category of what to eat falls the specific food choices, food combinations, and the adjustments to the macronutrients. The what of quality low-carb or ketogenic diets include animal proteins, fatty fruits, and non-starchy vegetables primarily. The what of a carnivore diet includes animal products only. The what of a lower carbohydrate diet could also include some amounts of fruit, starchy vegetables, legumes, or sweeteners like honey. Within the category of when to eat falls the eating frequency and timing. This could include anything from the common advice of eating every 2 to 3 hours to fasting for 24 hours or more and only eating once a day or less. It also looks at the time of day you eat. Is it 7 a.m., noon, and 6 p.m., or 11 a.m. and 7:30 p.m.? In order to set this appropriately for you, we need to consider other lifestyle factors such as work schedule, family schedules, medication needs, and your personal natural rhythms. Within the how much to eat category falls portion size of overall food, but also the portions of individual macros. Someone with type 2 diabetes has more serious carbohydrate intolerance than someone of ideal metabolic health. Each of these levers are adjusted to the individual based on their goals and various circumstances. Today, I want to dive more into the when to eat category and answer some common questions that I get asked as a functional medicine trained nutritionist. Before diving into the questions, I want to point out that our food choices should support not only our physical health, but also our mental and emotional well-being. It doesn't matter how nutritionally sound or perfect a plan is. If you hate the food or dislike the process of following a particular plan, you will never stick with it. Be flexible and willing to try different things, but also know it takes time for your body, your tastes, and your preferences to adjust. You may not love something on day 1, but it may grow on you over a week or 2. If something doesn't work for you right now, come back and try it again in a few months and see if your preferences have changed. So here are 5 common questions about when to eat. Question 1. Should I do intermittent fasting? Intermittent fasting is following a specific eating schedule with a defined fasting window. One of the most common applications of this is time-restricted eating, where you restrict the number of hours a day when all of your food is consumed. For example, an 8-hour eating window between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m., leaving 16 hours between 6 p.m. and 10 a.m. the next day fasted. Intermittent fasting has demonstrated several metabolic health benefits such as weight loss, improved metabolic flexibility, and improved insulin sensitivity. However, there is no one perfect fasting schedule for everyone. When helping my clients decide whether intermittent fasting is right for them, I take into account the individual. Are they on medications? Do they have body fat to lose? What is their current diet and eating schedule? Are they active? So many other factors contribute to whether or not this is a recommended plan. I don't recommend fasting to anyone who is underweight or has minimal body fat percentages, is susceptible to disordered eating behaviors, the elderly, or those who are trying to conceive, are currently pregnant, or are breastfeeding. Women can have different responses to fasting than men due to hormonal fluctuations and may create disrupted estrogen, cortisol, and thyroid hormones, as well as increased hunger, inflammation, and fatigue. Generally, these are all signs of fasting too long or too much, under-eating nutrients when eating, or other lifestyle factors. Question 2. Is late night eating really a problem? I generally recommend that people stop eating 2 to 3 hours before bed whenever possible for the best quality sleep and for optimizing metabolic health. Eating too close to bedtime can disrupt blood sugar balance, hunger hormones, and fat metabolism. It can also lead to acid reflux and difficulty digesting the meal. Digestion also increases your body temperature, which can prevent the deeper levels of sleep, interfering with quality sleep. If you must eat late, aim for something light, such as plain yogurt or cottage cheese with berries, veggie sticks and guacamole, and a small portion of meat. This will give you adequate amounts of protein and healthy fats to satiate you throughout the night, without being heavy on digestion. We are more naturally insulin resistant at night, so limiting carbs and refined sugars before bed is best. Question 3. But what about breakfast? Isn't that the most important meal? This is something we've all been told, and I actually don't disagree with it, but I do think we need to reframe what it means. Breakfast is simply the first food you break your overnight fast with. It's vital that you do this properly for optimal metabolic health, brain function, and body composition. But that doesn't necessarily mean you have to eat first thing in the morning. You can absolutely break your fast at 11 a.m., 2 p.m., or even at dinner time. What time you break your fast with is variable based on you when considering the timing and type of exercise, your work schedule, your medications or supplements that you take, your family dynamics, and your appetite. This is another category that will change over time as your life and body change. Today, you may find yourself being hungry when you first wake up. This could be because you've always eaten breakfast first thing in the morning for decades, so you have a habit of hunger in the morning. It could also be that you are someone who just does better eating your meals earlier in the day. Or it may change over time with a change in your food choices and intentionally adjusting your eating schedule. Some studies show that there are bigger metabolic benefits to eating food earlier in the day and starting the fast earlier. But many people find this to be difficult with family and social dynamics that tend to occur more in the evenings. In the end, my recommendation is to be flexible. If you are truly physically hungry, eat. If you're not, don't. That will likely vary day to day. That's okay. As you adjust to taking in quality proteins, healthy fats, and the appropriate carbohydrates for you, you'll find that your appetite also changes. Question 4. Should I eat small meals every few hours or 2 larger meals? In general, I recommend eating less often. There are a few caveats, however. First, you must be able to consume adequate amounts of overall food in those few meals. If you find that you're chronically under-eating, this won't serve you well in the long run. Taking in adequate nutrients is key to ideal metabolic health, specifically when it comes to protein and healthy fats. Second, if you're on medications that must be taken at specific times and with food, you need to follow those recommendations. Now, depending on the medication and the timing, you may be able to have a small bit of protein and or fat and not have a full meal with your medication. Third, if you struggle to digest larger meals, you may need to adjust the composition of your meals and or address gut health prior to consuming fewer but larger meals. This is often also true for the elderly simply due to changes in digestive capacity with age. Fourth, if you have had any kind of gastric bypass or medical procedure that limits the amount of food you can consume at one time, eating larger meals would not be recommended. On the other hand, consuming fewer but larger meals has been associated with a higher thermic effect of food, which means it increases your metabolic rate after you eat compared to small frequent meals. Eating less often also gives you fewer opportunities to overconsume calories and can help calm the food noise, keeping you always thinking about meal prep, snacks, and food. And lastly, eating less often can reduce overall insulin needs. This, of course, varies greatly by the food choices you make. Eating 2 meals a day filled with pasta or bread will cause a very different insulin response than a steak or salad with no sugar or refined carbohydrates added. The easiest way to look at it is to eat when you're truly hungry and don't when you're not. Question 5, what about meal timing around exercise? As with many other areas of nutrition, it depends. The research is conflicted here. Some research has shown that fasted exercise results in more fat burning, yet eating carbs before endurance training, like marathon or long distance cycling, can improve performance. And yet other research and many personal anecdotes show that when a person is fat adapted through a quality low carbohydrate nutrition strategy, endurance and strength are maintained or even enhanced. As with fasting, recommendations differ for individuals. For those with stress or cortisol imbalances, it may be beneficial to ingest some carbohydrates and about 15 grams of protein before training to counteract the stress hormones that can be released during a fasted workout. Some also find that consuming quality protein, fats, and carbs before a workout can help with the recovery after an intense workout. Most of my clients are doing light to moderate intensity workouts that are less than an hour long, so I advise them to just listen to their bodies. Pay attention to your overall energy levels throughout the workout and throughout the entire day. Look for any changes in digestion, body pain, swelling, mood, strength, and endurance. You may also find differences in the time of day and or the type of workout you're doing. One note about nutrition in the research. Looking into the research on various nutrition strategies can be frustrating and not very helpful. In many cases, you can find just as many supportive studies for a given topic as you find studies that show harm or no benefit. This can happen for a variety of reasons. Who funded the study? How long were the studies? How many people were involved? Were they healthy? Or did they have a particular diagnosis? And what about other confounding variables that they include or didn't consider? Sadly, most of what's reported is based on surveys of various populations. These are inherently inaccurate as people don't provide honest answers, either due to a failure to recall correctly or even intentional deception. It's exceedingly difficult to create a study in human beings where you can control all but one variable. People are free living. You can't fully control every bite they take, their exact activity level. Even fidgeting burns more calories. How well they digest or absorb nutrients, what underlying imbalances or genetic predispositions they may have, what toxins or chemicals they're exposed to, and what other hidden diagnoses they have. This is why each person's plan needs to be customized to the individual. Be flexible. Be willing to try new things and stick with it for a bit to see if your body adapts. Don't follow dogma. To streamline this process, find a professional who can help you find your best path to your goals. Being intentional about what, when, and how much you eat can dramatically improve your metabolic health without unnecessary medications or procedures. Until the next, be well and vibrant. Thanks for being a faithful listener to the podcast. Did you get value from listening to this show? I'd love it if you left me a review on this podcast so that others can more easily find this valuable information. Did you know I also work one-on-one with clients and my practice is entirely virtual? I approach solving health challenges like I approached solving crimes, by conducting a thorough investigation into your case. Sadly, hundreds of millions of people in the US have poor metabolic function, insulin resistance, prediabetes, and diabetes, and the vast majority have no idea because their doctors aren't looking in the right places. I'm here to fix that without unnecessary medications. If you struggle with low energy, stubborn weight, hypertension, sleep disturbances, or any other undesired symptom, and you want a natural, lasting approach to correcting the problem rather than masking symptoms, apply to work with me. The link is in the show notes.